It's fine. It's basically the same movie as the first one, but in live action, and the first one was a good movie, so this is basically an okay movie. It's not really worth getting worked up about, so yeah. Yeah, guys, look, I know I'm supposed to get all worked up and bust out the thesaurus and use like 100 different adjectives for terrible because it's a live-action Disney remake of like not even that old of a movie and we're all sick of those and it's such a waste of time, but like, waste of whose time? You're watching YouTube right now. And you're not even watching something interesting or educational on YouTube. You're watching my show. I know. Disney bad, though. But like, that's such a boring runner, even for comedy dunks. Like, yeah, they're bad, but they're a corporation. They're all bad. That's just called capitalism. You see what a generic, boring take that is? And they wouldn't even make, like, the top 20 most evil corporations, or even the most bad movie studio. Like, do you even know who runs Paramount now? Remember that whole thing? Yeah. It's just that the mouse is probably, like, the first corporation you found out was actually bad, because you liked them when you were a kid, so it feels like this big betrayal, even though they're just, like, regular bad. Which, yeah, that's kind of a tangent, okay, but it's also what it's like when you mostly post reviews of the biggest movies week to week because that's what draws the most traffic revenue, and you do this for a living. Guilty. Most of these big movies just aren't the best things ever, duh, and they're also almost never the worst. And when I see people act like they are the worst, it means like they're either exaggerating or they don't actually follow enough of the business or the medium to know better. At least that would be my take, because I know it gets almost predictable hearing someone like me say, yeah, it's fine about so many big movies lately, but yeah, guys, unless you want me to lie about shit, most of these actually are just fine when you approach them with any measure of objectivity. At least whatever objectivity is possible in film criticism. Like, there are hyperbolically terrible movies worth cussing out and trashing the hell out of. Did you hear about that racist-ass Uwe Boll vigilante movie with Armie Hammer? Or, like, remember earlier in the summer somebody thought it might be a good idea to let Nate Bargatze try to be a movie star? Yeah, you already forgot that one happened, but that's what an actual bomb looks like, by the way. Anyway, live-action Moana? Live-action Moana is pretty much just fine. Yeah, it feels a little bit pointless. There actually was no reason to do it other than a few years ago. Everybody seriously overindulged Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's clout as a producer. It's not going to replace the original in anyone's movie shelf rotation, but the songs are all still good on balance, and it's probably better overall than Moana 2 was. And if all that sounds like I'm letting my review script trail off in some more spiels to extend the length of a video because these videos earn more money that way, hey, check out the big brain on you. Anyway, remember what the plot of Moana was? Congratulations, you're too old to actually complain about any of this in the first place. If not, at some point in the ancient past, there's an isolated Polynesian island whose villagers believe that an ancient curse forbids them from journeying beyond a reef lagoon, but the chief's daughter and future chief-to-be Moana is compelled by visions to do the opposite of that because otherwise there would not be a movie to name after her. There is also a globally spreading blight that can no longer be ignored, so Moana has to set out on a seafaring quest to find the demigod Maui, defeat a fire monster, reawaken an earth goddess, and solve a mystery as to how all of these elements are connected to each other, which is treated as significantly less of a mystery than it was in the original version, almost as though they're just kind of assuming that literally everyone old enough to comprehend the story aspects of this already watched a previous version of it several times and doesn't need any of it to be treated like a big twist. So, to cut to the chase here, once the story is off the village island, this effectively becomes a two-hander double act between Moana and Maui. Newcomer Catherine Laga'aia is very compelling in the lead, which is good, because she has to be on screen either running, sailing, monologuing, doing stunts, or singing the entire movie, so it's a definition of a literal sink-or-swim star turn, but what everyone will focus on is how is The Rock, because it's pretty much assumed that this whole thing is happening is because his production push was involved at the outset, and as is often the case, much as we're on one of the downslopes of the pop culture is kind of tired of this guy at the moment cycle with Mr. Johnson, yeah, you do kind of forget how good he is at commanding attention and being charming when that's the general assignment, you know? He's almost annoyingly good in this. Make no mistake, Moana 2026 is the definition of harmless, disposable Disney product. A fan film for itself that alternately plays like the extended cut of an Epcot Dark Ride pre-show and an also extended cut ABC network special promoting a new cruise ship launch, but Johnson is easily the best part of it, in no small measure because he's the most original element set apart from what's otherwise a beat-for-beat do-over of a better, livelier animated original. Basically, since he himself is physically different from the more cartoonish conception of the animated Maui, Johnson leans harder into an exaggerated for slapstick take on a more traditional, muscle-bound warrior caricature that ends up feeling like a family-friendly slapstick version of his Scorpion King shtick from over, 2 decades ago at this point, and yeah, you kind of forget how much fun he was doing exactly this routine. And whereas a somewhat universal criticism of the first 2 animated movies is that singing is one of the few skills he's not exactly top shelf with, here he gets to dance and clown around and pull faces, and he's actually really good at that. It works. It's not exactly high drama, but the 2 actors pair well together, and you buy the action business when you need to, so yeah. Look guys, I don't know what else needs saying from this. The 2 performances that need to work basically do, the songs are still exactly as solid as they were previously, it's well staged and shot. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be madder at Disney remakes conceptually, but sometimes you can in fact spend your way to passable competence. Make of that what you will. I make of it a 7 out of 10, be mad about it if you want, but it's fine.